LogansStory. Today, I would like to talk about Disney in the early 2000s. Thank you for coming. Let's get into it. So, Disney in the early 2000s. What is it? Why is it? How is it? It's what they say is the golden age for Disney. And because of that, there's no other way to put it than, well, it being as so, the golden age for Disney. In terms of films, but especially in terms of its parks. Now, when you think about Disney in the lightest sense, you think about princesses, you think about princes, you think about pirates, you think about all these different things that come to mention when you're talking about a Disney park. But here's the thing. Why is it that Disney holds true, even in the early 2000s? It's something that was steady as a rock for over 80 years at this point. And because of that, there's a lot of different changes that were happening to the parks, to the movies, to the merchandising, to the commercialism. Everything was changing for the better. And nothing really was going on Disney's bad side, really. There wasn't any repercussions pushing Disney to the side. But here's the thing, and this is something I want people to understand about this whole thing. Disney became its own in the early 2000s, in spite of the parks, in spite of everything that came to be. And you know what? It was kind of like it was dancing with the sun. The Disney company, of course. It's almost like it was dancing globally with the sun. It's almost like it was dancing to the beat of the sun. It's almost like the sun was rising and setting on Disney. And it made way for new things to happen. I mean, if you've been to Walt Disney World in the early 2000s, you would have the Millennium Celebration. You would have the opening of Illuminations. And you would have a lot of things to come to bear for Disney and at Disney as a whole. But here's the thing. Whether you're talking about Disney World, Disneyland, California Adventure, or if you're talking about the movies, there's a certain charm that came with each and every one of them. So, with that being said, let's go into detail. Okay, so when you think about Disney as a whole, what are the nooks and crannies you can pick to make sure you understand this whole premise of Disney in the early 2000s? It's kind of like this. It's scary to think that over a 10-year process from the 90s, the parks would become something so great and immaculate. The beauty of the parks became more registered by people and more endeared by people of all kinds. And whether it's the Astro Orbiter, whether it's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, whether it's Star Tours, and whether it's the Riverboat, there's a lot of charm in Disney in the early 2000s. And they kept keeping the rides. And the upkept of the rides is what really keeps people going. Because at the end of the day, there's something missing. Well, not missing. Something that they could store for in the later date. And they did. They put the charm in everything that they did. From the 90s until now, the characters took a huge jump. From looking like kind of scary to now looking like very charming, very cute characters that you can hug. But here's the thing. Disneyland, Disney World, and the Disney company as a whole had its charm going for them. That's what I want people to take away. Charm. It was a very charming look for Disney. That's why it's called the Golden Age. But the Golden Age doesn't have anything to do with the success of Disney. The predecessor says that maybe the Disney company is meant to be kind of golden through its years of trial and tribulation. But that doesn't mean that the mistakes they made or that the failures that they produce sometimes is not for show and not for at least telling a story to. And because of that, there's a lot of things you could say about what exactly those failures have brought up. Well, those failures brought up a beautiful look on the parks. Those failures brought up a new CEO. Those failures brought up a new way of thinking in terms of animation. But what kind of things did it bring up in terms of you and I? The consumers for Disney. What do we think about the overall nature of Disney as a whole, especially in the 2000s? Well, application, of course. So, here's the thing. Leading up to many other things like that go into play when you think about Disney in the early 2000s is much more than charm. It's the treasure. The treasure that holds in the grip of your hand, in the mind of what imagination is, and in the heart of what love is. See, the thing is, when you think about Disney in the early 2000s, there's really nothing else to think about other than it being charming, beautiful, and something to stay for. So, when it all comes down to it, Disney is a park. And when it all comes down to it, a Disney movie is a Disney movie. But you know what made Disney different in terms of all this? Well, their charm, their imagination, and what they could hold for people like you and me as consumers. And what does that mean for you and I? If you love Disney and you truly remember the early 2000s, there's something in your heart that holds true. But at the end of the day, it was really something that we could hold dear and treasure to. And well, do you find that memories seem to be the only thing that leads us into the question of belief and magical and being a kid again? Do you miss the times where you could be a kid again? I'm pretty sure you do. And I do too. What can we do to go back to be a kid? Well, maybe it's time to plan your next Disney vacation. Thank you for coming to application. Let's continue forward. Thank you for coming on LogansStory. Thank you for coming to the events at Disney. There'll be more events at a later date, so keep an eye out for those. Also, the mission is 1,000 subscribers. You guys can get there by hitting the share, like, and subscribe button right on the screen. Also by hitting the bell. Leave a comment if you can too. Thank you again, and peace.